The end. Good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the big bugs bite. What? You want to hear another one? But it's a school night. Okay, okay. Just this once. I'm such a pushover. What type of story shall we hear? How about a fairy tale for our times? A field of dreams fenced with, and by the white picket, a story of the young man and woman we all hope to be someday. Too bad that's what you're getting. Once upon a time there was a young woman, pretty as a day in June, a young man by her side, smart as a whip and handsome as a polo horse. They met in high school and fell in love on a merry day in May. Before long, the young man dropped to his knees, pulled a diamond ring from his pocket, and won the young woman's hand in marriage.
Excuse us, Mr. Storyteller.
Moving right along, with the blessing of their compatible...
Oh, Mr. Storyteller.
Excuse me a moment. Yes, what is it?
We didn't exactly meet in high school.
Yes, you did. It says so right here.
We met in a bar.
We met in a bar. Oh, shit, my bad. And we dated on and off for 5 years while she experimented with foreigners.
How nice. Well, for our purposes, let's say you met in high school, shall we? Okay. So, with the blessing of their compatible families, the young man and woman were to be bride and groom.
Wait a minute. As I recall, you kept breaking it off.
What?
Yeah, then you'd want me back the minute I had a new boyfriend.
You certainly didn't waste any time running into the arms of the first guy who had an accent.
Let's don't argue in front of the impressionable youngsters. The bride soon set in on the wedding preparations.
I never realized you were a racist.
I'm not. I was fine with the fact that you slept with a black man.
You're assuming that racism automatically refers to African Americans. Isn't that a form of racism itself?
Excuse me, ma'am, sir, spare me those bushes so I can return to the story, thank you.
By all means, don't let anything silly like our issues get in your way.
Look, will you play along? The children will have ample opportunity to be disillusioned later. Let's just have a nice bedtime story, okay? Okay? As I was saying, the preparations, they were to be married in a beautiful church,
Drive-through Chapel in Vegas.
followed by an elegant reception at an old inn in Vermont.
Back room at the Stardust Lounge.
The bride put Martha Stewart to shame as she had the evening designed to the last detail.
Ha! That really sounds like you.
From the linen napkins to the centerpieces of purple freesia and Italian buscles.
I think he was invited to someone else's wedding.
And why is he assuming the bride always has the taste? Does it never occur to anyone that the groom might want to participate? I worked my way through law school as a floral designer. That's how I know freesia is all wrong for a centerpiece, except maybe as an accent flower.
You were a floral designer?
You need to base your arrangement on a more sustainable bloom, like a lily or an orchid.
Brad, is there something you want to tell me?
Actually, there is something I want to tell these youngsters so they can get to bed at a decent hour. The
Well.
story.
Well, huffy, huff, huff.
So they had their flawless reception for 300 guests at a turn off the Century Inn in Vermont.
You know, we're not from Vermont. We've never even been to Vermont.
At which all had a delightful time.
What do you mean? Is there something I want to tell you?
Immediately following the splendid reception,
I mean, is there something you haven't been honest with me about? With yourself about?
Like what?
the bride at the tender age of 24. What? What's so funny?
She's not even close to 24.
Now, just wait a minute here, Buster Brown. Whose story is this?
Ours.
Wrong, this is a fairy tale. I'm going for prototypes.
But I'm 35.
In this story, you're 24. The average American woman gets married at 24.
How old's that make him?
27. Why? How old is he really?
I'm the one that's 24.
Isn't that a little young to be getting married?
How come 24 is okay for me, but not for him?
You're the woman. You're supposed to be younger.
Jesus.
Now, before I was interrupted for the umpteenth time, boys and girls, I was saying that after the reception, the 24-year-old bride was whisked away in a horse-drawn carriage by her 27-year-old Prince Charming.
Whisked away where?
I don't know, to the airport.
Which one?
The airport of Vermont.
There's one in Burlington and one in what? Montpelier?
How do you know that?
I majored in geography.
You did?
So, Mr. Fancy Pants, which one was it?
The one where you caught your flight to Hawaii for your honeymoon.
This whole fairy tale is completely out of hand. Anyone knows there's no flights from Vermont to Hawaii. You have to fly through Logan or Lax, or both. And anyway, I highly doubt they'd let the horses in the terminal.
Oh, for God's sakes. What's the big deal in telling the children a nice little story?
No one's life turns out like that. How many of those kids will live up to your version of the story? None. They can't. It's too much pressure. It's like why Catholic women are all messed up. You can't be a virgin and be a mother. And Brad, I probably shouldn't have married you to begin with.
Shayna, how come you say that?
You're probably gay.
What?
Oh, come on. How many straight male floral designers do you know?
That's what you thought I needed to be honest about?
You didn't even know I majored in geography. Listen, if we're talking average here, most people don't get married in Vermont. They get married in their one-horse hometowns that have Walmarts and bad zoning.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing. That's my point. Most people do get married in their hometowns. Most people cheat on their spouses or end up in counseling or sell everything they own to get in a lousy nursing home. But put that in your fairy tale and smoke it.
No one's smoking anything. There are children present.
And God forbid we tell them what life really is like.
She's got a point there. You're opening yourself up for multiple class action lawsuits, mister.
Fine, I had it. You want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? The whole enchilada? The proverbial hook, line, and sinker? Well, far be it from me to give these little souls something to which to inspire.
Do it! Do it!
I'm warning you, it won't be pretty.
We stand warned.
I'm such a pushover. Once upon a time, in a trailer park not so far away, there lived a woman approaching middle age who drank a lot of bourbon, smoked a pack a day, hung out in places where they throw peanut shells on the floor,
All right already.
and a young, slightly effeminate man who took it up the tush once from a fellow Eagle Scout, but since it only happened once when he was 17 and drunk on Kahula, he still considered himself straight.
Hey!
The woman and the man met in a bar one night where they got drunk and slept together afterwards at her place. Since the woman felt guilty after the one-night stand, she felt she needed to make a legitimate relationship out of the encounter to justify the sex. Even though she really preferred black men to stay deep in the dark closet, the man proposed to the woman, and since she's 35 and, let's face it, not getting any younger, she accepted his pathetic offer because it was a real ego boost to have snagged a hot stud 11 years younger than she, even if he does have the occasional problem getting a stiffy with her because he's really gay. Although the man offered to plan the entire wedding with his best friend, Steve, the woman insisted they hire a horse-drawn carriage to drop them off at the airport of Vermont, from which they took 6 connecting flights to Las Vegas to get married from an Elvis impressioner. To celebrate, they showed up at the Stardust Lounge, at which they bought all the bar Patron cheese balls and Budweisers when they arrived back home in Weekahaw, New Jersey. The groom, unable to suppress his inner self for a moment longer, took up with the drag queen from Soho, and the bride, realizing she'd never be a mother, consoled herself with vodka and Xanax, and died of a somewhat accidental overdose 3 years later. The groom, now 27, took up wearing cowboy hats and chaps and made the unfortunate mistake of traveling to Wyoming on business, where he was dragged to his death behind a 4x4 by a bunch of homophobic rednecks. The drag queen wrote a show about the three of them in which he played all the parts, won a Genius Grant, and landed his own talk show on New York City cable access. I bid you good night and sweet dreams, children. The end.
Mr. Storyteller, wait. It's okay. You can tell the other version. Blah, blah, blah.
The end.